welcome into the Common Dad Podcast, Season 2. I am, of course, joined by Andrew and our favorite guest of all time, Tim Patno. How are you doing, my friend? Andrew, I don't care about you. Tim, how are you?
It's going to go straight to his head.
Spectacular. Yeah, as if this dome isn't big enough, you have just inflated it, my friend. Thank you. That is like a stuffing in my stocking I didn't know I was going to get, so thank you.
Perfect.
All 4 of our followers, you're the favorite.
All of them. All 4 of them. Yeah, far and away, all the reviews we've gotten, both of them have been glowing about the last episode, for sure.
I could be one of one, and I'd be thrilled, guys, honestly. As long as I'm on top. Wait.
Well,
Sorry.
there you go.
Yeah.
So last time we spoke with Tim, you weren't traveling last time, but that's what you do. You travel, and now this time Andrew is, of course, traveling. Your very hotelish background with that
It's
yellowish,
just a set piece.
that yellow poo light over there, and
Exactly.
a particular chair that we won't
Utterly
reference.
disgusting room.
Oh yeah, did you blacklight that thing?
No, I did not. I had to sleep in it. I wasn't going to blacklight it.
It's better to not know, man.
No.
Always better to not know. Yeah.
Build strong immunities.
I've seen people be like, "Oh, blacklight it before you go in for sure. That way you know."
Why? What are you going to do?
Exactly. What are you going to get a new room? They're all
Now,
covered in stuff.
What if you do a black light pre and then a black light post? So you know
That's-
what's yours.
Pretty scary. Scary. Leave your mark.
Oh no.
Yep.
Yeah, that's
We have 3 followers now. It's going to be good.
exactly. Yeah, it's I don't understand and I feel like there's 2 places in this world that are like that. It's a hotel and airport where people's inhibitions just it's like they're in another world. It's like nothing counts when they're in those 2 places.
Nothing counts.
And I don't-
You don't have to, they don't worry about aim in either of those locations. Yep.
Yeah, I kind of get it at a hotel, but I definitely don't understand it at an airport. Like people they don't care what they look like at an airport. You just show up in pajamas and it doesn't matter. Whatever you want.
If you think about that too, being in an airport, it's a small likelihood, but you're putting yourself in a position where it could be the last trip you ever take.
Right.
Do you think they just throw their inhibitions out the window because they're like, well, hell, if I'm going down.
Because in the back of their head, they're like, "We're going down. It doesn't matter."
Go big.
And
Go
then
big.
maybe I guess so. I don't know.
A couple Ron White jokes in there.
There's a lot. There's all the Ron White jokes in there. He's coming on next week for sure. He doesn't know it, but we got him.
He's in
We
the
got
queue.
him.
He's ready.
Yeah, he's fine. He doesn't have much to do. I think maybe part of it's like, well, I don't have to. I'm not flying the plane. What's the difference? I don't know. All I got to do is sit there, right? And then you forget your flight's an hour and a half long, and you show up to your destination absolutely destroyed at 3 p.m.
Yeah. Like it's just me and 132 strangers on this long tube in the air.
Yeah, it doesn't matter.
What could go wrong?
It should be fine. The last time I was at an airport, I do the thing you always do. You walk to your terminal. At least I do. I don't travel. I'll be
Look at
interested
the
to know
gate.
if you do this, Tim. I show up an hour early. I walk to my terminal to confirm it indeed exists. And I just look at it, and I'm like, yes, this is where I need to be. And then I go to a bar. Do you do this even though you travel so much? You just
Listen, almost 20 years into traveling, I get to the airport as early as I possibly can so that I can do just that.
I don't know what it is. There's something about not like
Airport
for the
bars
first
are
time.
better than any other bar.
What's that?
Airport bars are better than any other bar you can go to.
Why? I fully agree, but I don't know why.
I
Because
think
the
there's a
expense
little bit
report
of like,
starts when you get to the airport.
that's a big piece of it, and there's shared misery.
Everybody there is miserable.
Yeah.
Yeah,
No matter
everybody
where
there-
they're traveling to, they're a little bit miserable
That's a good
because they're
point.
not where they're going.
And I feel like conversation flows better at the airport bar, and I don't know why either. Because you'll never
You'll
see
never
them again,
see that
right?
person again. Yeah.
Like if you go to your local bar, you're probably going to see them again if you go back. But that airport bar, you're never going to see them again. So
No, it will never be the same faces except for possibly the bartender, and that's not a bad thing if they get to know
no,
you.
yeah, that's fine.
Yep.
Yeah, maybe the airport bar is. I think we had a podcast about this last season. We did best drinks, and one
best
of them
beer?
was. Yeah, best beers is what it was, and one of them was the airport beer for that exact reason because you just chat it up. I don't like talking to people, but when I'm at the airport, and just lie. You just say whatever
Well,
you
that's the
want.
best
It
part, right?
doesn't
You can, be,
matter.
you can be anybody you want for that hour because they're never
Absolutely.
going to know. Nobody's
Yep.
fact checking you. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
And I don't care. Lie to me. Tell me a good story. It doesn't even matter.
Yeah,
Hell yeah,
make
man.
it
I don't
interesting.
care at all. Yeah. Don't tell me something boring. Now, speaking of traveling and drinking, of course, here on the Common Dad, we talk about parenting from time to time, but we mostly talk about drinking because those two come
Large
hand in
topic.
hand.
One drives the other.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm not sure in which direction, but it definitely is driving. So we're going to go through. This is a series of a no, I'm sorry. This is an episode of a series where we're going to be putting together the perfect, and I mean perfect because you won't find a better one, holiday meal. And we're going to start it off with drinks. And of course, Tim, of course, is a travel expert, but being a travel expert, you're of course a drink expert.
It
Again,
makes me a drinking expert.
exactly. Comes hand in hand. So we have 8 holiday drinks. Keep in mind, these are not the best drinks because some of these could quite frankly dump down the toilet and never think twice about it. But for whatever reason, some of these you just drink
could.
during the holidays because it's the holidays, right?
Sure.
Just, yeah. So
Yeah.
I don't know. But anyway, without further ado, let's get started on the very first matchup. And these are not seeded because we didn't take that much time preparing. I'll just put that out there.
Too much effort.
Yeah, that's all it was. We're just not prepared people in any way, shape, or form. So
Extra
anyway,
time for drinking.
yeah,
Yes.
exactly. We've been drinking them, and you have 2 of these already, right, Tim? What do you got? What have you got there?
Do. So White Russian
Okay.
in bourbon, which could well be the
you're-
finalists.
You're
be.
giving away some clues as to what's coming later in the playlist here, though.
True.
Boy,
That's okay.
it's a sneak peek. It's a
What's
sneak
the
peek. It's like
other
a long
sneak peek?
trailer.
There's another drink. There's a White Russian, and then there's another color Russian.
A black
not-
Russian.
What's the difference between the two? What are you adding in that? Just Kahlua?
There is no cream-based liqueur in your black Russian.
So that's it. That's the only difference.
right.
Before we get started, no, we'll do this when we get to the White Russian. All right, first matchup: the espresso martini, which I don't know if I've ever had, versus the Irish coffee. Maybe I have had one. Tim, since you are the honorary MVP guest, why don't you go ahead and share your thoughts on this matchup here?
I'll break this down. So, espresso martini to me screams two things: white girl and dessert. Those two things could be paired together also. That's not the point.
Sure.
But for the espresso martini specifically, it's generally, every time I see them being consumed, at least in public, it's like a 24 to 44-year-old female.
Yep.
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah.
And what they always want to do is they want to make some alteration to the way that the bartender is typically going to prep it. Like they have a very specific way that they enjoy their espresso martinis. So to me, it's like the bougie dessert cocktail.
Yeah.
You mentioned dumping drinks in the toilet. That's one I would throw. Like, why waste good espresso? Just give me an espresso on the side.
I also, with these drinks, I have a problem with the weird, because your caffeine is a upper. It's just a weird dynamic. I kind of like it. Don't get me wrong, because it's weird, but it's.
Is it like the high class Red Bull vodka? Is that?
Yeah, actually, I think you're right. That's probably what that is. I worked for Red Bull when I was in college, which probably shaved a solid 15 years off my life, easily. I worked for Red Bull, and my friend worked for Dr. Pepper, and all we drank was Dr. Pepper and Red Bull for 2 years. No water. We couldn't. That's all we had. It was fine. So,
Pipes are clean at all times. That's good, man.
yeah, I'm sure I'll need a new liver very, very, very soon.
I would say I'm pro Irish coffee in this matchup. Irish coffee is one of those things I always think about as a New Yorker originally. When the weather gets cold, you want something to warm you up. Whiskey's a pretty good go-to, and it's still another one of those drinks where you've got upper downer because there's caffeine and alcohol mixed in, but it just feels like it's soul warming.
It's warming, and the warming it plays an important part in it. But I think too, you can get away with an Irish coffee, and you could always just go to work and just tell your boss you're just having a coffee.
So
You
if
walk
put it
in with a
Starbucks
martini
cup,
glass, he's going to have a few questions.
Yes. And if you're putting an espresso martini in a tumbler, you've got a problem. So it's, and I don't know why, because they're probably about the same, percentage content wise. But yeah, for me, the Irish coffee you can have any time of day, any day of week. It just has to be kind of cold outside, and it
socially
doesn't even
acceptable.
have to be like.
No, it doesn't even have to be cold. You can have it any day of the week, anytime.
Yeah,
You can have an Irish coffee in the morning to kickstart your day, and it's perfectly fine.
And I will brag on Andrew here, Tim. If you've never had one of his Irish coffees, and get your mind out of the gutter. He makes I can't even say it with a straight face. He makes his cream is handmade. It truly is. It's
I'm
homemade.
going to be honest.
It's homemade, and it's very, very good. God, I'm
Sharing is
12-year-old.
caring.
It's a lengthy process.
Sure.
Sharing is caring, and I actually have consumed some
You have?
Andrew's
Okay.
hand squeezed cream before.
It
And
takes
is
both hands to make.
oddly delicious. It's like a hug in your mouth you didn't know you needed.
He brought some on vacation last year, and it's all day. So yeah, Irish coffee all day long for me. Again, I don't think I've ever had an espresso martini. I don't think I'll ever need one for the rest of my life. But Irish coffee, absolutely.
What say you, hot buttery popcorn? Where do you land on this?
Oh, it's Irish coffee all day. I mean, it's more Irish than coffee, but Irish coffee nonetheless.
Yeah,
And-
I think that's why they named it that way, right? Like the Irish landed first because
It's a 60-40 mix.
yeah.
Can we all agree martinis are extremely overrated?
Oh, they're completely.
They suck.
And think about this: like a true martini, whether you're a gin drinker or a vodka drinker, it's just a really cute way to say I'm a raging alcoholic, so
That's
skip all the mixers and just
that's
pour
all
booze
it
to
is.
the rim. Like that's
That's it. Yeah.
yeah.
Ooh, and then what's the nastiest fruit? Yeah, put some olives in there. I love that. Like, is an olive a fruit?
I have
think
no
you're right,
idea.
actually.
Don't care.
I don't know. It feels like it's
you're right. 'Cause
fruit
it
or
grows on a
vegetable.
vine. I think
It
you're right.
sucks. Is it okay? Does that make it a fruit?
Sure.
I don't know. We're
You heard it
idiots.
here first.
I'm in it. Yeah, that's right. Olives, fruit.
Doesn't matter. Say it with confidence, and they'll believe you.
Hey, anyway. Okay, so Irish coffee with the runaway beatdown, round one. Next matchup, mulled wine versus the bourbon.
Bourbon wins.
Yeah.
Sorry, did I spoil it?
No.
No,
No.
not really. I mean, and as someone who enjoys mulled wine, but has only ever had mulled wine around the holidays, like there's a little special place in my heart for it. But there's a really special place in my liver for bourbon.
And I think
Yeah. Agreed.
you have to qualify too, because you're referring to this as a holiday meal.
Sure.
Does mulled wine go with every holiday meal, or is it a specific one where bourbon
Yeah.
that works pretty much every holiday meal?
I think you're right. And as we think about holiday meal, you're sharing that meal with family.
Stronger the percentage, the better.
Let's make the assumption that you're with family for an extended period of time around the holidays. Bourbon's what's going to save you. Mulled wine, great. A little cinnamon, that's fine. Bourbon, double down. If life is really good, you share a bourbon with a friend. If life is really bad, you take the bottle with you in another room.
That's true. So the first time I had mulled wine, when we lived, oddly enough, we lived in Alabama at a point in our lives, and our best friends were a German couple. The Mercedes-Benz plant is in Alabama, so he worked there nevertheless. But anyway, they introduced us to mulled wine while we were there. They called it Glühwein. I can't remember how to say it in German. I'm not cultured in any way, shape, or form. Grew up in Ohio. But
Tracks.
anyway, they had from Germany, they had a bottle, and it was so good. But you got to be careful with the warmed up liqueurs because they'll get on top of you real quick, real quick.
It's like a warmed up Andrew Holland.
Exactly, but you also
This
have
just
to
got weird.
You have to drink them quick because once it gets cold, it's
good.
nasty. It's nasty. So you have to drink it quick, and it's already hot. So I hate that the mulled wine was matched up here because it really never had a chance.
It didn't.
It's like the Cinderella that gets hooked up with Duke the first round of the NCAA tournament. It's like, you were a good team, but bourbon's.
But you're playing Duke. Yep.
It's just bourbon's like it's like an ATV, man. It can just go. It's just a cure all. There's really never a situation where it's
The
bad.
Band-Aid of liquors.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, bourbon run away, unfortunately. Next, well, fortunately,
that wasn't a hard guess.
No, it wasn't. I just needed to give the mulled wine the respect it does deserve, because I will treat myself to some mulled wine this holiday season, of course.
And
Highly
it
recommend.
holds a place in my heart. I'm telling
Yeah,
you. So the first time I ever had mulled wine, and then we'll get off of mulled wine, was in Innsbruck, Austria,
Oh,
during Christmas time.
that's pretty nice. That's tops right there.
So
That's
it was
pretty strong.
spectacular.
Yeah.
But I'm still giving the nod to bourbon.
Still bourbon. Yeah. All right. Next matchup: the White Russian versus the so overrated Christmas eggnog. This is another beatdown. Not because I think a White Russian is great, but have you had eggnog as an adult with liquor in it?
Yeah.
It sucks in every way.
It does. And both are heavy drinks, right? Because there's heavy whipping cream usually in your White Russian. And
Yes.
eggnog by design is really heavy and thick.
It's like drinking mashed potatoes
It is.
It's-
And nobody drinks it outside of the Christmas season.
because it sucks.
Because it's,
That's it. Like,
quite frankly, who's drinking heavy whipping cream outside of a White Russian?
Right.
yeah, nobody. You use it to cook. Like,
Yeah,
it's not.
I did make one, but
Yeah.
this is a skinny White Russian unintentionally. So note
How
to those
does
at
that
home
happen?
who don't often use heavy whipping cream. It's a really good idea to check the expiration date on your heavy whipping cream.
Does whipping cream
before you
expire?
make the cocktail. Turns out it
Yes,
does.
it's a dairy
'Cause I prepped
product.
one-
That makes quite
Yeah.
a good bit of
Yeah.
sense.
I prepped one right before this, and the
lumpy?
initial one, I just grabbed the heavy whipping cream because there happened to be some in the fridge.
There's always
Points.
heavy whipping cream. It's next to the
Poured it-
baking soda.
And there
Baking
was
soda.
chunks of whipping cream suddenly at the top. So, yeah, we replaced it with milk. So this is for those who are counting calories.
Okay.
Still terrible. Still
Sure.
terrible.
Absolutely, but we appreciate the effort, of course. I have a quick story about the White Russian and hotels. So, again, Alabama, this has come up twice in a podcast. Not proud of it. I was a bartender at a hotel, and every single weekend, it's not a couple, this man and this woman would come in who were outwardly, cheating on their spouses together. He would come in for work, and she lived in the area, and they would come, and these people would down like, I don't know, 7 or they would just pound White Russians. Only time I've ever made a White Russian was for these two idiots, and they would just pound them until they were just a sloppy mess, and then they would go up to their room, do things, right?
Become a
Blacklight
sloppy
stuff. Yeah, and this is a very small hotel, so literally at sometimes I was the bartender, the server, and the cook. Sometimes I was. It was a small hotel, and it was really fun. But when somebody ordered room service, that was my job to take it up. So every single time these garbage
Boom,
people
chicka, wow, wow.
would order like bacon double cheeseburgers after they did their thing. And they would.
So this was about
same
30
thing.
seconds after they went up to the room.
It was quick. It was
Yeah,
quick.
they placed
but-
the order on the way up.
Sure.
basically.
Yeah. They probably did at one point, or at least I
the time
started
it comes
prepping
off
the
the
food
grill.
because, and every time this dude would answer the door, he would just have no shirt on. Not a good looking man, by the way. Not that it mattered, but it wasn't. He wasn't great to see with his shirt off, and he would have jeans on with clearly no underwear on. They were like right at the jeans were right at the brim, if you will. The
brim.
It was just. And finally one day, I brought the cheeseburgers up, and I was like, "Can we just be done with this? I'll get your food. I'll give it to you before you go up here, but I don't want to do this anymore. It's really uncomfortable." And they stopped ordering the cheeseburgers after that.
That was kind.
Tipped well, yeah, it was fine.
Well, give it to them at the
I'll
bar.
just- I'll
order
never-
it while they're still sitting at the bar.
Yeah, and again, it goes back to kind of what we talked to at the hotel. would you ever answer your door at home with no shirt on, jeans, no underwear, with the jeans right at the tip of the boys? Like, but at a hotel, it's just sure, let's do it. And I'm like, dude, I see you every week. I kind of know you.
We're basically friends. Yeah.
So with all that being said, I would still take a White Russian over an eggnog with that traumatic history behind a White Russian.
Just
because
saying, you
eggnog
had-
sucks.
With that very deep scar,
Yeah,
the pain
very.
is still better than suffering through a Christmas egg.
You know,
Yes.
I'm sure he paid for his drinks with a credit card, which means you had his name.
Yeah, I blocked
How
that
hard would
out.
it have been to have sandbagged that whole situation? to
Oh, very
avoid-
easy. Very, very easy. Yeah.
So-
I
That's fair.
could have. Probably should have. But yeah, it just.
You did say that he had a nice tip, or he tipped well. One of the two. So
Both for sure.
good.
It's just,
You got the full mistletoe show when you got
yeah, definitely. It was I close my eyes and I see it. Anyway, my wife is Venezuelan, and her mother during the holidays makes a Venezuelan version of the eggnog, and it's even thicker. When you pour it, it chunks out.
now
You have to
hold on, though.
squeeze
Okay,
the
so-
thing, and they're like, "Here, it's good." And I'm like, this
Hold on,
is
but what does
yogurt,
she
man.
make? Is she making eggnog, or
No,
is she
but it's-
making coquito or something?
It's whatever their version. At least that's
Does
what
it
she
have
told me.
cinnamon sticks in it?
No, it's just chunky white
Okay.
stuff, and it's
like porridge.
you
but
have
terrible.
yeah you have to
That's-
like
That's what I was going to bring up here.
Yeah,
Is you know I'm
no good version.
You know, I would challenge that eggnog shouldn't be on here because it's not a good all holiday meal drink, and we're talking
Okay.
about all
Yeah.
holidays, not just the one holiday.
yeah.
But yet, we all probably know at least one weirdo who enjoys.
Straight out of the carton.
Right.
Oh yeah, yeah. No booze to
Yeah.
like water it down. They just
No.
want the egg.
Yeah, it's just and everybody's had an eggnog
Yeah.
for whatever reason. Like I would
Because
probably
somebody told you it was good and you had to.
and it's not. It's not. So yeah, eggnog out, and in my opinion, it loses to every other drink on this, and it's not even close. All right, next matchup. We spent way too long on the White Russian and the eggnog, but it deserved it.
That was
because
somebody's story about
sucks.
a couple.
Well, it's not my fault. They gave me that traumatic. Anyway, the hot toddy versus
Oof.
the martini. We did the martini.
Martini.
This is a classic martini, no?
Classic
Just like a
martini.
classic.
Okay, so I don't know anything about the martinis. Is a martini a holiday drink?
So, according to Esquire magazine, little knowledge bomb
Sure.
drop.
Yeah, oh, yeah.
Right now.
That's why you're here.
Because I had to fact check this before I came on. Because
Oh,
my
sure.
wife was like, the martini is not a holiday drink. And I said, au contraire.
No.
Esquire magazine says it is in the top 15 of holiday drinks. But they gave a little rationale behind it, which is why I think there's a point to be made here. Much like bourbon, it's just straight gas.
That's a good point.
So it gets the job done.
Sure.
So I think it's one of those holiday drinks for people who are in dysfunctional families and at some point say, I would like to forget
Yeah,
all the conversation that's being
Well, I
had.
guess I should try.
Have you ever been sitting at a family function and gone to get a drink and made a martini for yourself?
Never. Not once.
Right.
It's
Now,
not. It's
so
not
I would-
at the
I would-
home
I-
bar.
You know, I'm not a
isn't that an
martini
odd
guy,
thing
but
about the
I
martini
have
in
to
general?
wonder here. I have to wonder
Yeah.
here, is the martini potentially on the holiday list because the holiday implies traveling
Something
to be
special.
with family?
Yep.
And is the martini a good travel drink?
You do
Thus
spend a
making
lot
it a
of time.
holiday. If it's a good travel drink, if people while traveling order the martini in the bar in the airport,
That's fair.
is it then a holiday
Okay.
drink because they're traveling?
Or because it's the holiday. Good
I could
point.
get behind that. I could get behind both those logics. Yeah, because when you, I think the most like, the busiest night for a bar is I want to say the night before Thanksgiving, I think, but it. So yeah, okay, that tracks. I can follow that logic at least.
So it does.
All
Is
that
that
being
why
said-
that makes the Esquire magazine top 15 for holidays? Is because near holidays
it's both
people are
the
traveling
reasons.
I think
and
you're bringing a lot of logic to this one.
I'm still not ordering a martini. Let me make
Oh,
that
yeah,
clear.
all that
if
to
I'm
be said,
traveling, I'm not
martinis
ordering a
suck.
martini. No,
Yeah.
fuck that.
It's hot toddy.
We're
all
going
day
bourbon.
long. Yes.
Yeah.
Well,
And
we
You
can
could
mix
pour
a little bit
why
of
don't
that
people
in
just
there,
pour
you know,
bourbon in a martini glass and call it a bourbon martini?
Yeah, I like the
That-
logic.
yeah, sure. I guess
I'm
you
having a
could.
martini.
Yeah.
Sure.
It's just all about the glass because there's no other drink that goes in the martini glass other than that stupid pretentious half-assed wine glass looking thing that will spill. It will
Every
the
time.
way it's
Oh, yeah.
shaped. It's going to spill. You can't. Anyway, no
And they
hot
hand it
toddy.
to you filled to the brim.
Sure, absolutely. Here, walk across the bar with this in your high heels. Let me know how that goes. Have fun. Should be good. Let's spill half of it. That'll be $12.99. Thank you. Don't forget to tip. Yeah, hot toddy. You can drink it when you're sick, and it works both ways.
Yes.
It really
You
helps.
can drink bourbon when you're sick too.
Yeah, yeah. Again, bourbon's the ATV of drinks. It's just it goes everywhere. It's fine. But yeah, the hot toddy has absolutely pulled me out of some rough colds.
Agreed.
Yeah,
And it's warm, right? So you get that same holiday
Yes.
feeling that you get from any
Yes.
other warm cocktails. Like there's something special about it. And to your point, it's also medicine.
exactly.
Yes.
Might be medicine, back in the 1920s, but I'm still counting it. If it works, it's medicine, right?
Listen, if it's written down in a book
Medicine is
somewhere as
medicine.
medicine, it is medicine.
If it's written in a book, it's medicine. Put that down. That's it. If it's in a book, it's
Bourbon
medicine. Yeah.
saves people's lives every single year. There's a reason that St. Bernards carry a barrel of whiskey underneath them while they're like the mountain
do they
dogs.
still do that? Can you imagine
I don't
if
know.
you're
I
skiing
have no idea.
and
Do
you're
they
in an
use St.
avalanche?
Bernards as rescue in avalanche? I don't know. We'll have to have a listener call in.
I feel
But
like that's only in
if
cartoons.
it saves lives, I don't know. That kind of sounds like medicine to me.
but
and
that's
we
the
have-
definition.
We have scientific proof that bourbon has, in fact, saved people's lives from freezing to death. So, it's medicine.
Feels like
Scientifically.
Sounds good. You know what? I don't have any information to dispute that in any way, shape, or form. So yeah, you said it with enough confidence. Hot toddy equals medicine. That's what it is. So hot toddy again. Man, we haven't even had a close one yet. I kind of like this.
And
one 'cause
bourbon
we're shaping
martinis,
up-
apparently.
shaping up for a good second round, for sure. So let's see. We have
Final four, huh?
Oh yeah, we're into the final four. Okay, so Irish coffee versus the bourbon. And now
This
keep in
one's
mind,
close because it's somewhat. Well, go ahead. Okay.
this is the bourbon of your choice, but it is straight bourbon. But also, this is the best version of an Irish coffee in your mind. Is this whatever you want? So, and it being a holiday drink, almost is good enough to defeat the bourbon, but it doesn't for me. It's close.
It's tough because you could wake up in the morning on like a Christmas morning and have an Irish coffee and it's delicious. And it could be warm outside, it could be cold outside, it doesn't necessarily matter. But you could have Irish coffee at 7 in the morning. The people in your
It's
family
super
are going to
valid,
have
right?
a
Because-
different picture if you pour 4 ounces of bourbon in a glass at 7 in the
That's
morning.
exactly right.
Yes.
That's exactly
They're
right.
going to
And
think
listen, as a
something
guy who-
different.
I love bourbon. I love it. But at 7 a.m., I don't know that I've ever actually craved it.
No.
Now, that said, to your point, you pour me a coffee and you're like, hey, should I pour a little whiskey in there too? Well, why not? That's just like the flavoring syrup that I'm adding to the coffee in the morning.
Right. It's a.
But-
It's actually
Is it
healthier
up to
because
hitting-
now you don't have to put the sugar in. So it's actually healthier for you to, in the long run because it's less sugar.
But does it box itself into being a holiday morning or holiday nightcap cocktail versus bourbon, which could be in any time during the holiday cocktail?
So I don't think
that's
it
kinda where I
boxes
was gonna
itself
go
into
next.
a time, but I don't know if I'm having it with a meal.
Right.
And would you have more than one?
I have had more than one, absolutely. I would and will, but I'm not gonna fill a plate up with food and be like, "Yep, let's have some Irish."
What's going to
coffee
go with
it."
this? Irish coffee.
Right? Like I would drink it if it was given, but I would
Like a little
rather
prime
have.
rib, some mashed potatoes, and an Irish coffee just to wash it down.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah,
Right.
which is a bummer
And so-
because
well,
the
that's-
Irish
and-
coffee is great. but
That's where I would say if it was just purely a holiday drink, I think Irish coffee could stand a chance at beating out bourbon. But
I agree.
for the best holiday meal,
Well, when it comes to
I think
meal,
bourbon wins.
going bourbon.
yeah, I agree. The bourbon wins. All right, so now we have the White Russian versus the Hot Toddy. Is this one even close?
You have a
I don't know,
cold
again,
drink.
you use the factor of meal, and it's like, well, if you're eating a
Both are-
hot holiday
Yeah.
meal, are you gonna want a hottie toddy?
Man, damn.
It's a
Okay.
quality point you're bringing up.
All right, that's actually a really good point because you would look like an insane person.
On the
if you
flip
poured a
side,
hot
do you
toddy
want to
go with your
drink whipped
turkey.
cream with your turkey?
Well, if you that's the thing about the White Russian, you can tweak it. You can make it, as Tim did, a little lighter, and it's still
Then it's just like it's
A White
adult
Russian.
milk, right? And you could wash down
Right,
a meal
it's
with
a-
milk,
it's a cold drink.
cold drink.
Who eats a hot meal with a hot drink?
Lunatics and only lunatics.
Yeah, I feel like breakfast is the only you would eat eggs and bacon and coffee.
Sure.
And that's the only exception to hot meal with hot drink.
That's
It bothers me deeply that I would take a White Russian to the final.
see, and,
And that sounded racist. A White Russian is a drink. Let's clarify if you skipped ahead in the podcast and you didn't get any context there. I'm gonna take the White
So
Russian.
what's our
in this
answer here?
for the
You're going White Russian.
I am going White
Interesting,
Russian.
so-
I will. I don't want to, but I have to. I feel because a hot toddy's insane in the
Yeah,
meal.
see, I'm not doing the White Russian. I don't really care. I'll still
Okay.
If my two options, if the only options were hot toddy and White Russian with my turkey dinner, I would go with the hot toddy.
Does
I'm
this
not gonna
make
do
the-
White Russian?
the-
I don't know. It's just not my thing, and that's fine. You know, for those that it is,
Yeah.
you're insane. But it's not for me.
Let's go.
So
I feel like
With all
brings us
due
to a
respect.
tie, and that allows Tim to be our tie-breaking
I was just going to
vote
say,
here.
man,
No pressure.
The pressure is on here. As much as it pains me, and I've listened to both arguments, the and the cold drink with a warm meal.
Sure. Sure.
I gotta go with cold refreshment on the backside
Oof,
of a warm
my
bite.
goodness.
So as much as it pains
It's the
me,
last time
too-
you're on the podcast.
I'm both of us. I guess we're done.
man,
That's it.
the problem with this is we now have Duke against like
George Mason.
George Mason. That's exactly right.
It's just, yeah. This isn't the final. Is a coronation.
No,
it's
hold
not,
on,
It's
though.
not even close.
Can
Okay,
can we
make your
rewind
case.
here for a rematch? Can we
Sure,
rewind for a
sure.
rematch? And I'm going to have to eat
Yeah.
my own words then on the previous lineup then. But
Go ahead.
have you ever had your bourbon neat?
Sure,
Have I?
It's not cold.
but it's not hot.
You put ice in it.
It's not hot, but
It's
it's,
like
not
drink-
cold.
it's
you
like
said,
drinking
you said you
water
were
in
going with
Europe.
the iced Russian. You were going with the right Russian because it was cold.
Fair. Here's your
You don't
Goldilocks.
always drink bourbon cold.
You don't have to, but
In fact, if you chill bourbon, it removes flavor from it.
it does. But so the Goldilocks is room temperature, right? Because it's like drinking water in Europe. They don't give you ice, and that's your refreshment, whether you're eating a hot meal or a cold meal.
Wait, they don't give you ice in Europe.
No,
Why? Why?
World traveler over here.
Why? That doesn't make any sense. It's not a hot commodity. Just freeze the water.
it doesn't. They also
Do
give
you have
really
freezers?
short pours of water. Like we in the U.S., like this is a 32-ounce tumbler, and I probably drink 5 of these.
Yeah,
a day.
no, that's
in
unheard
Europe, they
of.
couldn't wrap their brain around that. You get like
I have
40 ounces
ice
of water.
in this.
Please, sir, may I have some more? Like that's how they give you your ration
And
of
even
water.
even if you order like a Coke or a Pepsi or something,
No ice.
you have to ask
They
for
ask
the
for it.
ice additional.
yeah.
No wonder
They'll
they
bring
get
you a
caught
cup
up in
and a
every
bottle of Coke and
Every
just,
war
here you
they
go.
get caught up in, and I understand why. Stupid. That doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, because people are pissed off they can't just enjoy a cold glass of water.
Yeah. Here's
yeah,
some
I'm just
room
saying,
temperature
I
water and
think-
some beans to go with your eggs. Thank you. Thank you so much.
We're getting a little distracted here, and all I'm trying to say is you don't
Sorry,
have
Europe
to
sucks.
drink. You don't have to drink the bourbon cold, and so I think you should
But you-
revisit.
But
the
you
hot
do
toddy
have to
doesn't
drink.
have to be.
Here's why I argue against it, because you do have to drink the hot.
What is
toddy.
hot?
Hot. It's
What is
implied
hot?
in the
It's
name.
But it cools down over time, though.
That's why you drink it fast.
yeah. Nobody wants a room temperature hot toddy. That's
A room temperature hot toddy is not good though. Yeah, once
I
it
would
gets,
still take that over a White Russian.
fair. You were overruled, my friend.
Yeah,
You already know
I'm
my
still
opinion.
taking the way. You made a good point.
It's a solid.
Kind of.
It's a very solid.
Now I'm just angry.
Kind of.
I'm just angry at Europe. I'm just mad at them now. That's stupid.
We've just shifted
We
to
don't
being
need
Angry
Irish
that you
here.
picked a White Russian
was
for the
pissed off.
final. How did the White Russian make it all the way to the
Okay,
final?
okay. So if you pick a White Russian in Europe, do you not get ice? Do you just get some milk and some bourbon, and they're like, "Here, have at
See,
it."
now you're
Room
mixing
temperature heavy whipping
cocktails with beverages.
Yeah. If this was Le Commandant, then I'm taking the hottie toddy because my White Russian doesn't have any ice in it. Stupid. Anyway, bourbon versus the White Russian in
This
the
is
final.
easy.
Should we just announce like our preferred bourbon? Like, is that the way we can?
Yes,
coordinate
I think
this?
that's what we should do. I agree.
And just
okay.
We don't even need to debate.
Are we changing this from bourbon to whiskey, or like is this
Bourbon.
Is this just bourbon?
Just bourbon.
gotta
It's
be
bourbon. You gotta stay in the bourbon lane.
Gotta be bourbon.
It's bourbon.
Well, Tim's gonna beat us all at this one. I'm curious to see what Justin's preferred bourbon is, and this is your Christmas list. So
Right. Trying to think of like what I don't pay enough attention.
obviously we've had to have had it before.
Yeah.
Right.
You can't just pick, like Pappy.
No,
Like I've
no.
not had Pappy. I've heard of Pappy. I know the stigma of Pappy.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna say Pappy because I've never had it before, and I don't actually firsthand know.
I'm gonna go with
We're gonna fact check you too to make sure it's an actual bourbon and not like a
no. I got it right here.
Texas whiskey.
No,
or-
that's a bourbon whiskey.
Ooh.
Dang it!
What is it?
It's this was Chattanooga whiskey. Oh, it says right there, Chattanooga whiskey. That's how you know it's whiskey.
That's how you know.
That's how you know, not a bourbon. Man, is Angel's Envy a bourbon?
I believe so.
Is it? Okay, all right, then that's my pick. I thoroughly enjoy those. If I had to do a what you call it, an old fashioned, that is my go-to old fashioned,
quality.
and that I don't drink a lot of them neat, but I can do an Angel's Envy neat.
It's good.
Yeah,
It's got good
I know
bite.
it's not the highest.
It's a good pick.
I know it's not the highest up there, but for whatever reason, I enjoy those very much. They're a little. It's a little
would-
lighter, I think.
So again, I'm not going to go anywhere near Tim here. I know I've personally firsthand tasted his whiskey collection, so he's got some nice choices to choose from here. But I think for me,
Pause.
it's probably between.
Proceed.
For me, it's probably going to end up between like a Mitchers or like an Old Forester 1920.
Two quality picks.
And I don't know which one would be my favorite, like, hands down. We'll go Mitchers.
It's a good one.
I've never had that and never heard of it.
Michter's is a really good one. And much like your Angel's Envy,
Okay, how did you pronounce it?
Mick, hard,
Okay.
Michter's.
Get that.
You got to
phlegm
pronounce
in
the
there.
phlegm.
But much like the Angel's Envy,
Mickers.
they both make a rye also. So there's just a small aside. So quality pours. I might surprise you a little bit, Andrew, on this one. So don't get me wrong. I like me some bougie bourbon, but it's not like an everyday, I'm going to reach for it kind of thing. Like Pappy's fantastic, but I'm not spending $150 a pour at a bar for a Pappy's maybe once.
But this is the holiday pour.
holiday pour.
It's the holiday meal.
I'll give you that. So I'm going to go a little bit more middle of the road. Hard to find, but not a high price point. Blanton's.
I was wondering.
Blanton's is,
I have
is
had that. That
probably
is good.
my favorite. I can't call it everyday drinking because you can't find it.
You can't find it for everyday drinking.
But at like an affordable price point that probably everyone we know could go to a bar and order a pour and it's not going to break your wallet. Blanton's for the win.
The Blantons.
Yeah.
Blanton's.
Like tonight, just so we
it's
know,
a-
like, I'm not drinking Blanton's. I'm drinking a Weller.
That's
Okay.
I was about to ask you that. Is
Weller's
a Weller
good.
Weller bourbon?
Weller is bourbon. It comes from the
Okay.
it's Buffalo Trace, same distillery.
Oh, that's right.
Comes from the same barrels as your Pappy does.
Okay.
Also,
there we go.
brutally
That's
hard to
the
find.
answer.
Like bourbon people are snobs now. Like it's just become a thing. But
I have found in my bourbon / whiskey journey, usually the really high dollar ones, I just don't like. For like, it's one of those things. It's like, well, I'm done trying those. Just because they're expensive doesn't mean they're better.
no, and
To me, at least, like they might be better for whatever reason. Somebody, but I like just go with what you like. Really, like I'm not.
I totally agree with that. Like Pappy's good. It's good. Like it deserves the praise that it gets. It does not deserve the price point that it commands. Like there are
probably
there are lots of $30 bottles of bourbon out there that I would rather drink just because I find it to be more appealing.
What is, and I'll end on this question, and this is, you can both answer it, but I feel like Tim's going to have an interesting answer. What's the most you've ever spent on two-parter, a bottle or one single bourbon out?
Like a pour.
Yeah, like a pour.
$250 on a pour.
Oh,
You got me beat.
$250.
It was a
Okay.
Pappy 23.
Okay.
Bottle $750 on a bottle of Boss Hog. That's Whistle Pig. That was now caveat to that.
Good for you.
Caveat to that. The liquor store that I used to frequent when I was living in Fort Lauderdale would give you like rewards points that you would accumulate. So over
Okay.
the course of 2 years, I accumulated about $300 in points towards that. So $750
Nice.
bottle.
Okay. Made it easier.
Still, yeah.
brutal,
That's,
but
okay. But
It
yeah.
was enough for me to be like, oh, okay. And it was at the holidays. So to your point, Andrew, like this
So,
is a holiday.
there you go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There you go.
All right,
That
what's
counts.
yours, Andrew?
Most expensive bottle would not really all that expensive. It's a Lagavulin 16
That's
at
good.
around 120, 120 this is mid. Depending on where you go and what time of year, it's about $120. You can get it a little bit cheaper at times. Most expensive pour, I think, was $60 at a wedding.
At a wedding.
Yeah, it was a bougie hotel in Miami. It was a wedding, high dollar. It's just, yeah.
If they're listening, how nice of them to have that. If they're not listening, you cheap asses, it should be an open bar.
So that was pre-wedding.
Oh, okay.
Should have
okay.
waited until the
All right.
wedding.
Yeah, you should have. Okay, that's fair. Man, $750 a bottle. And what was that again? You said that was a
It was,
Pappy?
for the bottle, it was a Whistle Pig Boss Hog.
A Whistle Pig. That's right. Okay. Nice. All right, so bourbon is the winner. I think
Well,
we all
what's
kind of knew
yours,
that
Justin?
going.
We didn't get into yours.
We did. I said Angel's Envy.
No, your most expensive.
what was your
pour,
most expensive
Oh,
bottle?
jeez. My most expensive pour was at your freaking birthday because they didn't put any prices on the damn menu.
Is it like
And
a
I said,
Macallan
I'll have
12?
what you'll have. And they brought me,
So like
I
a-
think I've told this story.
Is a Macallan 12 at like $30?
I think it was an 18.
Ooh.
I think it was an 18.
I don't think so. Well, it could have been. I don't know.
I think it was an 18 because I
don't remember
remember
much
the
from that
bill
night.
being 3 digits. And again, I grew up in Columbus, Ohio. White trash. This is just shock to me. And the lady brings me the bill, and I was like, "Oh, it's clearly a mistake." I had 2 drinks. my wife had a water. We didn't have a steak or anything, and she said, "No, that's it." And I'm like, "Oh, great." And then you do the thing where you're like, "It's not." You just put it on the card, and in my head, I'm like, "Holy shit!" So that, which isn't that high, the most I ever spent on a bottle was probably a Macallan 12, which is what, $75,
60
maybe.
to 70,
Good drinking, though.
60 to 70. It was good, and I bought it. In fact, I bought that bottle and opened it for the purpose of our very first episode of the podcast.
Hell, that's a good reason,
There
buddy.
you go.
That's why I brought it, and then I accidentally left it at a friend's house for his birthday party and never saw it again. So that'll be the last time I do that. It was about 3/4 full.
You
but
took
you know what?
an
Happy
open
birthday.
bottle to a friend's party?
Yeah, why not? What's the difference? What's the difference?
No
It's fine.
comments.
It's what I had. Okay, it's what I had. They asked me to bring.
You would have
some
been better.
things.
Okay, but stop at the store and buy a $30 bottle and take that.
I wanted him to have a special drink on his birthday. I didn't think I was
did.
gonna forget the bottle. Yeah, he had
He had the whole
special
bottle.
drinks. He had special drinks. It's just I left it on the table. I had a couple myself. Bing bang boom. It's gone, and I probably had 4 or 5 pours out of it. So, but anyway, it went to a good cause.
It was
right?
a birthday gift that you didn't intend to give. It was very nice of you.
That's well. The crappy part is I also bought him another bottle of bourbon, but yeah, I'll just go with it was another
Excellent.
birthday gift.
So the final answer is
Anyway.
bourbon is the unicorn in this field that we just fought through.
Yes, bourbon is the unicorn, absolutely. So that is the drink for the holiday meal, and we will be assembling the holiday meal. Do not forget to listen, follow, subscribe, watch on YouTube is the most important thing, so you can see Tim's beautiful face. You don't have to look at our faces, but you can see Tim's face. Highly recommend. Thank you so much for listening. Again, the best way to support the podcast is 2 ways: like, listen, follow. Second way, send us a giant suitcase of money. That would work too. But if you can't do that, in lieu, just hit the subscribe button. That works as well. Thank you so much for listening, and we will see you next time. Thank you guys so much for watching today's episode of the Common Dad Podcast. Let us know if you liked the video by giving us a thumbs up. Even if you didn't, give it a thumbs up anyway. Be sure to subscribe, click the bell to get notifications every time we post a new video. Also, do not forget to follow us on Instagram at @the_common_dad and on Facebook at The Common Dad, so you can let us know your thoughts on today's episode.